Today we're going to take a look at anxiety, what really causes it, and how you can eliminate it instantly, right on the spot, so you can feel at ease, you can feel confident and in control of your life. That's what we're going to take a look at today. Coming up. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, helping you realize your true, authentic power. That part of you that has no limitation, that's full of happiness, abundance, peace, and harmony. And unlike other channels and experts that talk about this topic, here we don't just talk about it. We show you step by step, not only how to do it, but prove it to yourself, demonstrate it in your life, so you can walk the talk. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification so you are alerted when we drop new videos. We drop new videos every single week. So welcome to the channel. Now today, we're going to take a look at anxiety. This is something that we all experience, and yet it's hard to really put a definition on. If you look up anxiety on the web, you look at the medical definitions, you look at the psychiatric definitions, it's all sort of nebulous. And they blame certain external factors. Like in the physical sense, they blame hormones, they blame having problems in your gastrointestinal thing. That'll give you anxiety. Or they blame past events, rightfully so, past traumas, things like that affect us today. But all of these things, blaming stuff out there and then trying to fix things out there, really doesn't help us so much, because anxiety is something that we live with day to day. And it's something that we are creating. And since we create it, then we don't have to wait for some external thing to change. We could fix it immediately. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do right here in this video. Now, when we look into the experience of anxiety, we could see that it takes on many different forms, many different flavors, usually attached to different emotions. Like we can find an anxiety that's based in fear, like the sense of impending doom, something that's hanging over our head, keeping us constantly worried. And then there's another form of anxiety that's usually attached to having too much on our plates. We feel overwhelmed and we can't get all of it done. And so we stress out over that. So there's so many forms and ways that we can experience anxiety. I think this is why it's so hard to define for most people. That what we're going to do here is create a whole series so we can really address each one specifically and practice knocking out that fear and worry, knocking out that anxiety, that pressure, that overwhelm. So we're going to make a whole series about it. As I do new videos, I'll link them in the description below so we can dig even deeper together. Now let's start off by examining the root cause of all of this anxiety, whether it's fear-based anxiety, frustration-based, or whatever. There's a single common element. And it's something that we are doing, that we've done our whole life, that has put us in a position where we're feeling this anxiety in our lives. And the good news is that if we are doing it, then we can turn that around. We can completely undo it. Now, to identify how we are doing this, one of the things that we can look at is what causes some of this anxieties, like past events, past traumas and such. And we see how when we have these traumatic situations, that we are left with a charged feeling that we then carry with us for the rest of our life. And it gets triggered by similar incidences. People say something that reminds us of what happened in the past, and up comes that same charged feeling. Now, how do we end up with that charged feeling to begin with? Well, it's how we end up with all of our feelings that come up and push us around. We created them. We collected them because of all those times in our past when things happened that we didn't like and we had feelings about it. What do? We push our feelings down, right? So we're in a situation that we get frustrated and we fight with that frustration. We don't like that feeling. We don't like the situation. And therefore, we push the frustration down in an attempt to regulate it, to cope with it, to deal with the situation, because obviously we don't want to deal with it and the feeling that's involved. So we try to push our feeling down. But what happens when we do that? When we push those feelings down, we collect them. We start accumulating them. And the more things happen to us in our life that we don't like, and we resist it, we suppress more feelings, this is how we end up getting heavier and heavier as our life goes on. Now, what this shows us is our major problem is feelings. And this problem is sweeping the whole planet. You can just examine what's going on. People are fighting with each other, yelling at each other, calling each other names. Why? Because of feelings. So you could say that there's a major epidemic sweeping the planet called emotion sickness. And this is because there's 4 ways we can handle our feelings. The first way is we suppress them. We don't like them, we push them down, but they don't go anywhere. We store them up inside of ourselves. Now, the second way that we handle feelings is we try to run away from them. We try to escape them. So we try to change the situation, make things different. So we change jobs, we change spouses, we change cities, thinking that by having a different environment, that's going to make us feel better. But it doesn't, does it? Or we go on vacation for a little while, we take a break, but then we eventually have to re-confront our feelings inside. So escaping doesn't work. And the third way that we handle feelings, like we've seen that goes on across the whole planet, is we express them. We scream, we yell, we fight, we express ourselves. And we do that, why? Well, because it's like these feelings keep pushing up and up until we finally explode. And it does feel like a relief, but it's not a permanent solution, because we express ourselves so much that we let go of the excess steam, and then we go right back to suppressing it again, pushing our feelings down. And this is just an endless cycle. Now, at the root of it, it's all very simple. And our solution here is very simple: to exercise a 4th way now to handle our feelings, which is to let them go. And how do we let them go? With love. We just treat them with love. So, I'm going to show you. Think about a situation that frustrates you. And this could be a situation that's contributing to ongoing anxiety, frustration, feeling overwhelmed. This situation in your life could be with your family, at work, in your business. You got something in mind? Now notice, when you're confronted in that situation and that frustration comes up, you don't like the frustration, right? It's like, get out of here, frustration, go away. So, for lack of better words, you're saying no to that frustration. And when you say no to the frustration, does that make the frustration go away? No, it doesn't, right? So, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that frustration, actually have it go away. But you got to be willing to do something different than what you've been doing already. Are you willing to do that? All right? Now, think about that situation in your life that frustrates you. Just think about it. And when you think about it, notice that feeling of frustration that's coming up. Now measure that frustration on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being the most frustrated, 0 being the least frustrated. See where you're at. You could be at a 3 when you think about it, could be at a 5, a 7, you could be at a 10, wherever you're at. And notice right away that tendency to, get this out of here. You're saying no to that frustration. Saying no doesn't work. We're going to try something radically different. Just look at that frustration that you measured yourself at. And notice the natural tendency to want to say no to it. It's like an automatic reaction, a habit. But now we're going to do something different. Look right at that frustration and say yes to it. I know this is something new. It's not really intuitive to the mind. It doesn't make sense to the mind. But we can see that what does make sense to the mind, to say no to it, that hasn't worked out. So just try it. Look at that frustration now and say yes to it. Just say yes to it. Y-E-S. And could you say yes to that frustration a little bit more? And could you say yes to that frustration even more? And even more. And even more. And even more. And could you say yes to that frustration even more? Whatever that means to you. It's a feeling, it's a number, whatever. You put a number on it, you know what it is, so just say yes to it. And say yes to that frustration even more. And 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 notice how you feel. Measure yourself again. See, here's how you can prove it to yourself. Just measure yourself again. See if you moved on that scale of 0 to 10. Even if it's just like a half a point lower. Just notice. And notice if you feel a little bit lighter. All right, this is showing you how to exercise the fourth way of dealing with your feelings. And this is proof. You're letting it go. All right? So wherever you're at now with that frustration, just look right at it and say yes to it. And say yes to it even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And look at that frustration. Just look right at it and say, I love you, frustration. Try it. I love you. I really, really love you. I love you if you're there. I love you if you leave. I love you either way. I really, really love you. I just love you unconditionally. And I give you permission to leave. Or stay as long as you like. I love you either way. And measure yourself again now. All right, so notice how you feel. Notice that lighter feeling. That's proof you can do it. That you don't have to fight and battle the stress and anxiety anymore. You don't have to keep pushing it down, keep having to cope with it. That you could just let it go. And this lighter feeling is proof. So now that you've got some energy moving, you got a little bit of momentum going for you, working in your favor now, let's capitalize on it. So that remaining stress, anxiety, frustration, welcome it up. See, let go pushing down on the rest of it. You got some of it going out, you got a little bit lighter, welcome up some more of that frustration. Just allow it to arise. And just allow it to come up. And open up an imaginary window or door right in front of you. Now imagine this energy. It's just energy. That's it. That's all it is. Now imagine this energy moving right on out the door. Just watch it pass through. Watch it leave now. And allow it to leave even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And it's just energy. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just energy. And let go of pushing down on it. Allow it to arise. And just watch it pass right through that window. And let it go even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And how does that feel? Just notice what you're experiencing now. And see, this shows you that you've been in charge all along. That you've been in control over the anxiety, the stress, the frustration, the fear, all of it, all these negative feelings. And what we've been exploring so far in this video is the simple fact that you've accumulated them in the first place, how they got there, how you came to have this anxiety. And since you've been in charge all along, now you can just reverse it and eliminate the whole problem immediately, right away. Notice this didn't take very long at all. Now, again, this shows us that all the things that we get stressed out about, that we have anxiety about, it really has nothing to do with what's going on out there. Because we've seen there are situations that get us stressed out that others aren't even bothered by. And it's not the situation that determines that. It's not our environment, how we were brought up. It's what we did. Our decision to push down and collect our feelings. So I really wanted to establish this simple truth here in this introduction to anxiety, this first video in the series. And as I said, we're going to continue breaking apart anxiety because I know that this is like a constant thing. I've had to battle with this a lot through my life in all of these different forms, with the fear, with the overwhelm, with that just sense of I gotta do everything. And if I don't do it perfectly, whoa, I don't want that. And I hate to make mistakes, all that stuff. So we have all these crazy manifestations. And see, what the medical and the psychiatric world doesn't realize is that these feelings are self-created. We put them in there. They're like programs that we put into ourselves. And most of them, when someone can't be diagnosed, you can't really put a finger on why you're stressed out, why you have anxiety, why you have whatever symptoms. They can't find a medical reason. They just say, oh, well, it's just stress. It's just anxiety. And so it's like a blanket term. Now we're going to just pull off the blanket. Follow along with us as we radically unravel all the anxiety and frustration that we deal with and move through the world empowered. So I'm glad you're here. And I'm really grateful for the growth that's now happening in this channel and all the participation and wonderful comments. It seems that I've attracted a real nice part of the internet here. So let's keep growing together and discovering our true greatness.